we are going to attack is sorting large data sets. So this means we have to go through the data multiple times, not a single pass. So it will typically involve a lot of I/O activities. So it will be I/O bounded, and as a result of copy between different logical entities, there will be memory copies inevitably. So the memory will be stressed a lot. And based on today's traditional hardware configuration, usually CPU resource is not the bottleneck in the sort. So the format of our input data set is coming from the same as GenSort produced from sortbenchmark.org. It's 8 byte keys packed with 8 byte value, and for each record, and those records are consecutively. Looks like a structure of array of structures. So I'm going to go through first introduce our sort approach. Then I'll look into aspects that impact the sort performance. And later I will introduce the IBM Powerline system with respect to more focus on those factors that impact the performance a lot. And then I'll show you the performance result we got. And next we introduce the sort engine we are using. Okay, here this is the sort approach we are using. So imagine we have a large set of data on one node. So it is so we divide the data into slices of roughly 1 or 2 GB for each slice, and each slice will go through a partitioner. Partitioner will do partition according to a high order bytes in the key, just like a radix. So it will place those records into sub-partition buckets, right? And then the second stage is shuffle. Send all those sub-partition output to its destination node to prepare for the next stage, which is get all those data sub-partitions disjoint list into one merge sorter, and to sort those data sequentially and output the result into memory. So here, there is some optimization can be applied in the high level. As we see, there are 3 activities: partition, shuffle, and the final sort. So we are using this approach. We first do partition on all data alone. And after this, after partition, we started the shuffle.
So what is NBS?
Oh, sorry. NBS means non-volatile storage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this the partitioning shows here, shows in the up graph. So we read data from non-volatile storage and processed by computing device, and the output will be stored into NBS again. So the shuffle and the final wave actually can overlap together, because we are doing little by little at a time. So we can read the output from partitioner into fabric switch to send the data everywhere. Meanwhile, we are doing the final sort from another set of data. So this way we can fully utilize the bandwidth from different I/O devices, network storage, etc. So by the way, I like to mention it is possible to overlap shuffle with partition, but we are not doing that because that will be difficult for a skilled data set. Particularly, those distribution of the data is cannot be determined only after you do the partition. So we decided to do partition alone. So here we show. So with respect to the data set per node, normally there are two cases. Either you have we have enough node to average the data set on each node to fit in memory. The other case is that we do not have enough sort node, so the data on each node will still be beyond the limit of beyond the capacity of memory. So so in this two cases, we have to mention that. Sorry, I'd like to mention that. So with regarding to the memory subsystem, today we can have a high bandwidth memory on the accelerators. So this is the highest tier, and the next tier is traditional DRAM, and the last tier is non-volatile storage. So basically, so if the data set is does not fit in memory, we go through this path. So imagine a data, it is read from storage into GPU for the sort. This is like load the data. GPU after sort will write the output temporarily into storage. So because memory does not fit the data, so we have to write to storage. Then when shuffle begins, the data is being read into the switching fabric, and another amount of data is being received from the fabric to the GPU for final sort. After final sort, the data is being read to MES again. So here we use the actually for simplicity, in this work we do not consider non-volatile storage, and we assume the data processed by each node can fit in the memory of a single node. So we can, in this way, the data goes through into storage and memory and the network in a similar number of times. So this system is bandwidth balance between network storage and memory. So this is just to illustrate the data movement between different entities. For example, so in steady state, there will be input data in the memory, and there will be some fraction of data in GPU already, and another set of data has already been processed. So they will be represented by the yellow box. So in a single step, we do these three activities in the same time. So the first is load data into GPU. Then data in GPU is being sorted, and the previous output is being copied over to the memory. So here, actually, there is some traffic across the cross-socket bus. So this is because some partition output need to be written into the peer node, and later it will be sorted in the peer socket. So this is for the shuffle and merge. Similar as before, we have in a steady state we have partially subpartition output in yellow box here sitting in memory, and some data has already been copied into GPU waiting to be sorted, and the result. So this time, all the data movement happens within the socket. Now let's look at the Tencent sort result 2 years ago from sortbenchmark.org. So they did 100 terabyte sort on 512 nodes in less than 100 seconds. So this translates to 2 gigabytes per second per node. And they are using 2-socket power 8. And so all the sort is being done in CPU only. They observed roughly 70% peak CPU utilization. So this shows some trend. In that system, CPU is somehow approaching the limit. It will soon be the bottleneck. Now today, with more advance in bandwidth improvement, we are allowing faster data movement. So naturally, the CPU will be CPU resource will be the bottleneck. So our logical next step is to move the sort into accelerator such as GPU, and at the same time we can leverage those I/O and memory bandwidth improvement. Now this is a notional IBM Powerline based system. So all the I/O nominal I/O bandwidth has been listed here. So first so let's look at the left socket. The CPU to memory bandwidth is 170 gigabytes per second, and so it's and to the Volta GPU. Let's look here. To Volta GPU, it is in total 200 gigabytes in single direction. This is the read plus write. So for the network, it's 128 gigabytes, and non-volatile storage is 100 gigabytes. So this means we can configure a system with 100 gigabytes per second as a throughput, peak throughput. Now this is the real system used in our work. So this is Power 8 to compare with Power 9. This is Power 8 system with Pascal 100. It's a codename Minsky. So we are estimating achievable bandwidth by 2/3 of nominal bandwidth. So let's look at here for the partition. Because the Minsky DRAM access is asynchronous. It's write to DRAM is half the bandwidth of read channel. So the partition is bottlenecked by the write path here. So 40 multiplied the 2/3 is 50 gig per second estimate. So it is the same for the final sort. So the net is that so for the total sort, we can estimate the upper bound is 25 gigabytes per second. And so let's look at a Power 9 with Volta 100. So the difference here is that the memory becomes synchronous. So we will not have a bottleneck in single pass. And the partition throughput can be real estimate is 100 above 100 gigabytes. So and actually I have to mention that some care has to be paid during the implementation because there will be Newman effect. Newman effect may limit the bandwidth, so we have to place the data in socket carefully. So this is just to assume all perfect place of data. So no Newman problem here. We can estimate this throughput. For the final sort is the same. So the net is that we can estimate it's 57 gigabytes per second effective. This is the performance numbers we got from Minsky. With some scaling, we did sort 64 gig with one single GPU only, 2 GPUs and 4 GPUs. And the blue column is the estimate of the numbers according to previous bandwidth limit. And the green one is our real result. We can see here for the partition read, scaling is good. So with 4 GPUs, we can roughly get that speed up. this is the partition right. Partition right, as I mentioned before, on Minsky, the right channel is half of read channel. And we can see here it's not scaling well. So I think these two may be related. So it's caused by the right bandwidth not big, high enough. And in the final sort stage, the time is also scales well. With more GPUs, we are doing faster. And overall, we sorted in average. We sorted in 4 seconds. So that translates to 16 gigabytes per second. With this number, 25 is the upper bound we just estimated. Now let's look at Powerline result. So similarly, we can see here. I like to mention here. So that for the partition read, one single GPU to two GPU, it scales good. But when we go to 4 GPUs, we do not receive that scaling. So it may be due to some bugs, implementation errors, because we already see the same scaling in the Minsky result. And let's look. So the final sort we see scaling well. So this gives us total with 4 GPUs we can sort with 2.26 seconds, and the net result is 28 gigabytes per second. So this is a summary of a single node performance result. So just a list here. This is to show the bug, possibility bug.
Performance bug.
Yes.
Not functionality bug.
Okay, so next, looking into the sort engine we are using here. So we are using Gordon's GPU radical sort. So at high level, what it does is it also pipelines three things together. The first thing is loading data into the GPU. The second thing is doing actual sort on the GPU, and the third one is store the output data into host side. So now let's look into what's happening on the GPU side. First, we calculate a histogram based on the input keys, and so this leverages the atomic add operation. So we can do the histogram calculation with many GPU threads concurrently. And next, so from the histogram information, we can know the start and the stop of each bucket we are going to sort. So basically, we have decided the range of among the input data on GPU. And we will actually look into the input data and put the data in its bucket. So we can do this operation from both the beginning of the data bucket and the end of the bucket. So the net is that effectively we have doubled the operation of this movement compared to normally growing from single end. Because we are doing from both ends, we can be a little bit faster in this stage. And after all those buckets has been accumulated, records accumulated in the bucket, the next thing is to use some simple sort scheme to actually sort those data in sequence for each bucket. And because we are using so the number of records in each bucket is pretty small, so roughly all data fits in GPU register. So this also makes it running fast. compared to our results in the academy, for example, we mentioned here there is a work from Stella and Jacobson. They did some survey on the pre-art on the sort, and they proposed their hybrid radical sort. So they are doing the sort on a PCIe attached Pascal GPU, similar as our Minsky Power 8 system, and they sorted on on single node they are using single GPU sorted 64 gigabyte in about 16 seconds, while we did a sort in about 11 seconds, and we have demonstrated that the algorithm can scale out to 4 GPU without any problem. It is faster than their hybrid radical sort. And we also compared with CUDA memory implementation. I like to mention that CUDA memory has some utilization limitation, not limitation, utilization fashion different from our data set. So they require the input data looks like keys together, and the keys should be put together, and the values put together looks like a structure of arrays. So, but we are doing the reverse. Our input data is the reverse. But we try to hack the data set to follow their scheme, and we still got roughly a factor or 2 faster than the Thrust and the COB library result. Here is some extension we did towards multi-node sort. So I'd like to mention that we use the RDMA here in the shuffle, it lowers memory access and frees the CPU, so it is good for the sort algorithm. But the problem is we found that because RDMA requires the IB verb requires the memory region involved in RDMA be registered before they can be used, and actually the key of the memory region need to be copied to the PLN. So this is a high cost initialization. So we did actually in our work the input data is uniform. So logically we can decide beforehand roughly estimate all the size requirement of memory buffers during the shuffle. So we can pre-allocate all resources beforehand and exchange those keys across the nodes. So, and logically, in a real implementation, we can hide this initialization cost during partition stage. So, with regard to the multi-node sort, we have introducing another factor that is GPU direct with RDMA. Unfortunately, our system is configured with GPU direct off. So as we can see, when the data, so this is a data goes through paths in the multi-node sort scheme. The output from partitioner need to be written into memory, and so during the shuffle, data is being read from memory and sent to fabric, and so for those configurations with GPU direct on, actually they can be sent directly to the GPU, but we have to send it back to memory again, and later GPU has to read the data from memory. So this incurs additional memory read and write. So, and in this case, memory bandwidth is more likely to be the bottleneck, as we see. There are many read and write going on here. This is the animation of the multi-node sort. First we allocate the RDMA send memory block in the DRAM, and then we have input data on DRAM, input data on GPU ready, and some output from partitioner also ready here. And so during the partition, actually all the data movement happens within a single socket. So this is different from previous single node socket because we do not have to use the cross-link send to peer node since they will be shuffled. And so this is to show the shuffle going on with final merge. So this memory block is the send memory block. So it contains partition output, and the gray one is the RDMA receive memory buffer. So at steady state, we have at a steady state we have those yellow box. They are output from partitioner in DRAM waiting to be shuffled, and there are also some partition output waiting to be transferred to GPU, and similarly there are input and output on GPU. So what happens at the same time here? First, data is being shuffled from send buffer to the receive buffer, and at the same time, data from receive buffer is being copied to GPU, and GPU sorted and read back. So as we can see here, the dotted line illustrates the bandwidth success. So let's do a up-bound estimate again for multi-node. So for partitioner, it's the same. The net is that in the final stage, because we are using 2 months of memory access, so the up-bound estimate is being halved to 25 gigabyte. And so on Power 8, we estimate that we can achieve 18 gigabytes per second effective. So on the Power 9 system, similarly, we estimate that we can achieve 38 gigabytes per second. This is due to without GPU direct, we have to. So this is the multi-node sort result. On the 64 gig, we have 4 Power 9 nodes in the cluster. So the first column here shows some sweeping result because as I mentioned in the first slide, we have input data. We cut into slices. So this shows how many slices we cut into. For example, in roughly 1,000, so each slice will be 64 megabytes, and actually this configuration impacts the sort performance somehow. As we can see, we can get some, for the bad numbers it can approach 4.0 seconds, and for good numbers it can be roughly like a 10% impact. And so we picked the best configuration and did 10 iterations repeat. The average for the sort is 4.4 seconds. So this translates to a little less than 16 gigabytes per second. And we also did measure the non-pipeline version. That is, we did a shuffle and a sort separately. And we can see here the shuffle is taking a fair amount of time. It's longer than the soft. So this also indicates that in our system, network is the bottleneck. And we can see here, with the shuffle concurrently, we can save a little bit time, like 8 to 10%. So in the future, we are going to enable GPU direct, and we like to apply faster network to see how the algorithm performs on multinodal sort. So in summary, we can see here, it is, so compared with previous generation Power 8 result, we can get roughly an order of magnitude faster on the per node performance. And Powerline enables 100 gigabytes per second throughput system versus Tencent system is 100 gigabit per second. So it's order magnitude improvement. And sort is finally becoming computer bounded in this stage with help from the improvement from the I/O bandwidth. And we can estimate that it is possible to do faster than 20 gig per second per node soft speed with today's hardware configuration. And so the question is that we still see the network is the bottleneck. So the next question is next generation system may need a faster network or not. Yeah, that's my talk. Thank you.